It's the Dodgers world, and we are just living it. Late night baseball. We're back for more baseball this week. A lot of moves in Major League Baseball. Of course, we'll be talking Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers and all the implications there. As we signed on tonight to record this, Freddy Peralta is going to the Mets, and Cody Bellinger finally found a home. Surprise, surprise. It is the New York Yankees. That and a lot more tonight here on Late Night Baseball. Parker, how are you feeling?
I'm doing well. I'm heartbroken because my Denver Broncos, while making the AFC Championship, lost Bo Nix after the game to an injury that apparently occurred in the game, and that sucks. So backup quarterback going to be starting the AFC Championship. But this is a baseball podcast, and as far as that goes, we are 1 month away, literally 1 calendar month away from the Red Sox first spring training game against the Minnesota Twins, and I couldn't be more excited.
It's so close, Parker. It's so close. My Bears, unfortunately, are no longer in the NFL playoffs. However, that has meant that my hunger for baseball is now in overdrive, and I am counting down the days. It takes me back to last spring training when we were together in Arizona. Take me back. It's literally all I'm thinking about this last week or so.
Yeah, and we don't have to wait too much longer for, meaningful games to be played because we do have WBC to look forward to, so that's going to be exciting. There's a bunch of moves. Like, you broke the Peralta news to me just 5 seconds ago when we sat down. Like, you hop in the call, and I didn't even know about Peralta. So what are we talking about as far as like the shape of the league moving into these spring training report dates?
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear. A lot of moves to happen, a lot of things that are still on the checklist for a lot of these teams going into spring training, and the Mets have been one of the most active teams by far. We'll talk about a move that they made with my White Sox in a little bit here, but hot off the presses, the Brewers and the Mets have agreed on a trade where the Brewers are sending highly touted front end of the rotation pitcher Freddy Peralta to the Mets. And the Brewers, in return, are getting top prospects from the Mets, Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat. Jet Williams, prospect from the Mets, has outfield experience, whereas Brandon Sproat is definitely an up-and-coming pitcher who, if he develops the right way, could be a number 2 or 3 at minimum in a rotation. So finally, Freddy Peralta,
from what I understand, too. Like,
he
could be up.
It could be this
very
year.
soon.
Yeah, I mean, Parker, we knew Freddy Peralta was most likely on the move. We know how the Brewers operate. We know a lot of teams would be jumping at the opportunity to give the Brewers some prospects. I can't say I'm really surprised by this, not even surprised that it's the Mets.
No, it's nothing at this point I think would surprise me as far as the Mets, because when we look back at the last week that they've had, I mean, since the last time we've recorded on the 16th, they inked Bob Bichette to that 3-year pillow contract that, it's not the contract we thought Bob Bichette was going to get at the beginning of this free agency period, but it's certainly the one he got, along with the move for Luis Robert. Like, I mean, that's pretty awesome. Like, they're increasing the efficacy of their outfield there. He's going to play a very good center field for them. And then even today, aside from Freddy Peralta, we see Luis Garcia just got signed to a 1-year contract by the Mets. And like, when you add all these things together, you can see like, okay, the Mets were probably in on, I would assume, both Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker, and we'll get to Kyle Tucker. But when they don't get those guys, you can see the immediate pivot. And honestly, I think that this is admirable. This is the kind of the organization that Steve Cohen has championed since he took over at the helm for this Mets team. He didn't get the guy that he wanted, which doesn't happen very often, but this is what you want to see from an organization that wants to be competitive when they don't get the guy that they were initially planning on getting. You got your outfield help. It's not Kyle Tucker, but Luis Robert has one of the highest ceilings in baseball. We've seen him perform at an all-star level, and if you can get some more of that magic from him over the course of a season, you've significantly improved your outfield. I don't really care who was in it before. And then you see like high upside arms. Obviously, Freddy Peralta can head up any rotation in baseball, say for like 3 or 4, and he'd be the clear 2 on any of those rotations. So when you add Freddy Peralta and then a wild card like Luis Garcia and then a Sproat and like excuse me, they sent Sproat away, but you can see the vision from this Mets team of always buying more and more and more in, trying to overcome a Phillies team that has consistently finished above them in the standings. And it's just kind of all par for the course now from a Steve Cohen team, because that's what he said he was going to do when he took over.
And it's a team where the offensive potential has always been there, right? Their lineup's always been a strong lineup, and they have firepower. The things that David Stearns was adamant on when he stepped into this offseason was two things: pitching and defense. Let's remember, they opened this offseason acquiring Marcus Semien, who's now at second base. So their defense has just that move alone has drastically improved up the middle. Now, add on top of that some of these pitching additions. Now, here's where I worry about the Mets, if I'm being honest, is yes, they've added Freddy Peralta, but I don't know if you've taken a look, Parker, what's kind of behind Freddy Peralta. You have rookie Nolan McLean, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, that's proved rather effective, Sean Manaea, that you never know where you're going to get from Sean Manaea, and then Kodai Senga, who is, when he's good, he's good. When he's not, he's very not, right? So
Right.
I still have concerns, like we always talk about with these Mets, is that starting rotation. If they can land, which I think is still a possibility, a Framber Valdez, a Zach Gallen, I feel a lot better. But I still, if I'm a Mets fan, I'm not rolling into 2026 season here confident about the rotation, even with a Freddy Peralta.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think that when a guy like Freddy Peralta comes on board, like a rising tide raises all ships. I think that the organization improves as a whole.
Sure.
That's the kind of guy who has enough, expertise at his craft that is able to make the guys around him perform better. And, I have a lot of optimism maybe in a guy like a Noah McLean, but like Cole, look, anytime you take a closer and turn them into a starter during a free agency period when it appeared to be a marketing tactic, like I was very, very, very impressed with what they were able to get out of the rotation last year, even at the level that it did perform. And I think that when you add a Freddy Peralta, I think that you just raise that water level even higher. Now, you mentioned the defense, and the thing that I wanted to touch on, I actually am not completely sold on their defense. I think that bringing in a Bo Bichette, who actually I meant to pull up his Savant page and then got sidetracked by Freddy Peralta. But when you bring in Bo Bichette, when you already spent your offseason or an early move in your offseason on acquiring a Marcus Semien, where is Bo Bichette going to play? Well, it looks like he's going to play third base. And while that kind of plays to his strengths in terms of, or at least covers his weaknesses in terms of the fact that he's, first percentile range on Baseball Savant. He also has a 36th percentile arm strength percentage. And I just don't love that as a third baseman. I think that it's one of those things where you're willing to, take the defensive downgrade in favor of the offensive upgrade if he can perform at the level that he did last season. But anytime you add a Luis Robert into your outfield, you're also improving your defense up the middle, period. So I do think that like there are upsides to their defense that weren't there before, but I also think that they're conceding a little defense in order to make the lineup more effective. And anytime you lose Pete Alonso, you have to make up for that. And like personally, I do. I think that they have made up for that. Maybe not in spades, but they have made up for the offensive deficiency that was created when Pete Alonso leaves. And I think there's something to be excited about for this Mets team.
I think there is. I think when you look at that lineup construction, though, as is, I think that Carlos Mendoza has some options with how he's crafting that lineup with the DH spot, because Fangraphs right now has projection that Brett Beatty is the regular DH. I don't see that as a reality. Brett Beatty, I think, is still an unknown. I think they're going to give him at bats, but how much he sticks is a question. And so I do see a scenario where Bo Bichette is maybe getting a lot of DH at bats, and you have Mark Vientos still at third base. I think that's a possibility. I kind of quiver at that because of all the money that you spent on him, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see at minimum Bo Bichette get some DH at bats and rotating out of that spot.
Yeah, I could see that too. And actually looking now at roster resource, I'm looking at the rotation, and you mentioned Clay Holmes, and we mentioned all the additions to the rotation. Interestingly, the oldest guy in that rotation, Sean Manaea, and Sean Manaea is only 34. Like 34 is not a spring chicken in terms of baseball years. In terms of starting pitchers, though, that's certainly doable. And if your whole rotation is between the ages, okay, Noah McLean's 24 and a half, but when your whole rotation is basically like 30, 31, 32, that's a good place to be in, to be taking, a bunch of guys in the, you know, normally the prime of their careers around a guy like a Noah McLean to make him better than maybe you expected him to be at the beginning. And I think that if none of these guys get hurt, I really like this rotation. And I really like, the moves that they've made on the offensive side of the ball. Brett Baty, yes, that is concerning. Absolutely. And I actually don't know if Brett Baty ends this offseason on the Mets. Like, he's been a pretty hot name in the streets as far as trade rumors and stuff like that. And we've seen that literally no move is off the table for these New York Mets, except maybe Juan Soto. So I wouldn't be surprised if you move a Brett Baty for maybe some infield defensive depth or something along those lines. Somebody who can play maybe a couple infield positions to really like give you somebody that you can throw in at the end of a game, platoon them, maybe give guys days off. Because right now they don't really have that. But other than that, I mean, if Brett Baty is the biggest question mark or maybe weakness in your rotation or in your lineup at the beginning of the season, that's not a bad place to be. Yes, we got Jorge Polanco playing first base, but I don't hate that a ton. I think that's going to turn out pretty well for them. And when you look at the thing top to bottom, it's Lindor, Soto, Bichette, Polanco, Simeon, Brett Baty, Francisco Alvarez, and Luis Robert. Like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
1 through 8.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. This Mets team is really needing to have an impact season in the NL East. That division is going to be another stronger division. It just is. And I think if Mets fans don't see this team go out there and win 85 games, this season's going to be considered an absolute disappointment. And I don't think they can afford to not have a really strong season. But we're going to just keep teasing this. We're getting to Kyle Tucker. It's going to happen. But before we do, we got to talk about Cody Bellinger, because Cody Bellinger signed with the Yankees. No surprise, really. And I'm going to say what I said last week. I think Cody Bellinger played his hand here. I think the only team that really is interested in Cody Bellinger to the degree that they were was the Yankees. I just think so. I don't think he had as much of a market as he thought. Luckily for him, it turned into 5 years, $162 million, but I think they trapped him.
Yeah, maybe he trapped them. Like, I think that Cody Bellinger.
Sure.
I think Cody Bellinger found him. He didn't do any of the trapping, but it definitely played out almost exactly the way that Cody Bellinger would have wished that this offseason played out. The Yankees have done nothing. The Yankees basically walked into this offseason. They decided that their moves leading up to this, let me just read them off. So their moves leading up to this, like Anthony Volpe, Arb, claiming Kyle Ort off waivers, signing Bednar to a 1-year contract. Like, these are the moves that we're not accustomed. We're accustomed to like the Marlins making moves like this. We're not accustomed to the Yankees having an offseason where these are the moves that we're talking about at the end, middle to end of January. Bringing in Cody Bellinger, honestly, isn't even a move that's going to get a lot of the juices flowing for Yankees fans, because that guy was already on your team last year. But the way that it worked out for Cody Bellinger, and the reason he would probably not have had this go any other way, is when guys come off the board like a Kyle Tucker, all of a sudden the outfield market gets thin. And you can see that in, finally the long-awaited trade of a Luis Robert to the Mets. Like, you can see the outfield market starting to get super squished, and there's nobody who wants to see the Yankees squirm more than the Red Sox. And so where's one of those teams that has a lot of outfield depth to trade away? It's the Red Sox, and you're not going to get a Jarren Duran out of the Red Sox to go in division to the Yankees. So when it comes to who's going to play center field for us and who's going to play outfield and who's going to bat left-handed in our famously left-handed favored stadium, there's really no other guy in baseball that fit that mold at this particular day in 2026 than Cody Bellinger. So I love the move from a objective like Yankees perspective, mostly because they had to, and so damn it, they finally did. And I also love the move from a Cody Bellinger perspective because he does have a little bit of security. He has been a guy who won an MVP, and it's been really weird to see how he just has not been able to get that deal that really like solidifies him, lets him buy a house and set his family down some roots for a while. And maybe this isn't even the deal that does that, but I do think that 5 years, no matter how they end up shaking out at the end of the day with a solid amount of money, I think Cody Bellinger found his home for the next few years, and he's going to perform like a guy who feels like he found his home for the next few years. We already know he likes hitting in that ballpark. He had his best offensive season in a long time in that ballpark, and he's still not a guy who hits the ball particularly hard. It's only a 26th percentile hard hit percentage. It's only 20th percentile bat speed, but in Yankee Stadium, that's going to play unlike anywhere else in baseball. So great fit for the team, great fit for the player. This was kind of one of those, like, yeah, we kind of all saw it coming, and we all, I think, honestly, if we're all honest, like, we were waiting on this to be confirmed. It's just nice to see it confirmed.
I have a bold prediction for the Yankees that may piss off some people, but I'm going to be honest. I don't love this lineup.
No.
And in a extremely competitive AL East, this is not the Yankees division to run away with by any stretch of the imagination. I predict that this pitching staff will be well above average. I think the starting pit rotation will be excellent, but I think they're going to struggle scoring runs. I think this offense is not going to do the job outside of the power and the consistency you may get from an Aaron Judge. I'm concerned this lineup is not going to hold up their end of the bargain.
I could totally see that. I think that there's almost no way you don't score runs in Yankee Stadium. And that's going to buy them maybe 5 or 6 more wins than we think it will right now. Like on paper, if they all played in neutral ballparks, like maybe I think that's not that it's not a valid point, but I think it's an even more valid point if we all played in neutral ballparks. In Yankee Stadium, they're an extremely left-handed ball club. That lineup is left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left. Like there's 3 righties in that lineup right now out of 9. And that's what you really want in Yankee Stadium. So kudos to them for building that lineup. But what did we see last year? The only playoff game the Red Sox were able to take off the Yankees was when they had Garrett Crochet on the mound. And they couldn't play Ben Rice because he just doesn't hit lefties yet. Maybe that changes this year, and Yankees fans better hope it does, because lefties are going to neutralize this lineup in a big way. And so if that is still their kryptonite, maybe you get a big year out of Jason Dominguez, and that helps with that a lot. Maybe Oswaldo Cabrera has a better season than he looks like he's going to have coming off of that major injury. Who knows what you're going to get out of Ahmed Rosario? Like, there's pieces there that if they click, this could be maybe not a juggernaut, but like project like a second place projected team, clearly like running away with a wild card spot. Like this could be the number 1 wild card team, I think, as constructed right now. But I think that actually is their ceiling. If the Yankees were to finish 4th in this division with the way that the Orioles have beefed up a bit, the Blue Jays have significantly beefed up, and the way that the Red Sox rotation looks right now and their ability to score runs in that ballpark, if the Yankees finished 4th, it would look weird to see NYY at the 4 spot in the AL East. But when you look at the lineups right here on January 21st, I just don't think that that's something that's out of the question.
I would have to agree. Parker, there was a move, of course, that just shook the baseball world like no move has before, quite frankly. And of course, that's Kyle Tucker, the Dodgers sweeping in, signing Kyle Tucker to a 4-year, $240 million deal. Let me say that again. 4 years, $140 million, Parker. That is an almost $60 million a year AAV. It included a $64 million signing bonus, of which he got 54 right there when he signed. 54 million. There you go. Enjoy your money. And he can opt out after the 2nd and the 3rd seasons. Parker, when I saw this, I texted you immediately, and I was absolutely dumbfounded by what was occurring. Parker, what was your first reaction to this?
My first reaction was, how odd is it that a guy like Kyle Tucker is the straw that breaks the camel's back? Because there's a lot of people, and I think I might be in that group of people that were banging the drum of it's the owner's fault. You know, you can't blame the Dodgers for playing by the rules. Everybody could go do this, to, oh my God, not everybody actually could do this. The Dodgers uniquely find themselves in a position with the way that their TV deal is set up to spend so much more money on a guy like Kyle Tucker, specifically like Kyle Tucker, because I think any of the big market teams in MLB could have given Shohei Ohtani $700 million. Clearly, there was more than just one team that was interested in inking Mookie Betts to a big deal. He never gets to free agency. We know how that saga plays out. Freddie Freeman was an unrestricted free agent, and the Braves chose to move off of him. I still think he would have taken a discount to go to Atlanta. All of those moves are moves that the rest of baseball, or at least the big market teams in baseball, could do. And I'm not saying that they don't have the money to give Kyle Tucker $60 million, but the Dodgers are so uniquely positioned to be the only team willing to take a $60 million AAV on a guy like Kyle Tucker. Like if Shohei gets to, the AAV he ended up getting to, the $70 million, that's not surprising. Most teams that have the money in the bank account would consider it or, if not sign it. But Kyle Tucker getting $60 million for what appears to be simply because we can is astounding. And the unique situation with the Dodgers TV deal is actually part of I think that this lockout's going to happen in 2027, and I think that the salary cap is actually not going to be something that hits the table for very long. I don't think there's going to be a salary cap. But one thing I think Manfred is going to do is hammer the TV rights topic and try tooth and nail to get those TV rights all underneath the MLB umbrella. And if that happens, a lot of fans, I don't think, realize how much that will even the playing field in terms of the largest market teams and the way that they're able to operate.
I want to come back to the implication for the labor talks here in a second, because I think that's a very significant and important conversation. Right now, I want to come back to kind of what you said. And you said a guy like Kyle Tucker. Here's my problem with this. And I told you this right out of the gate when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
$60 million for a guy like Kyle Tucker. Like, this is Kyle Tucker. I still hold the belief that he was never worth a projected 10-year, $400 million deal. Never. This is a guy, no. And I don't mean to bash a player here. We are a pro player show here, okay? And he is a talented guy. He is not 60 million perennial MVP talent. This guy has never hit more than 30 home runs in a season, and he's only done it twice. And he's never had more than 112 RBIs in a season. He's actually only been over 100 twice. And I'm being such a basic baseball stat guy right now. I mean, come on. I'm paying for a guy at 60, I'm paying for a guy at 35, 40 million a year who's going to give me a guaranteed minimum 35 bombs, minimum 120 RBIs, and I'm never getting that from Kyle Tucker. That's a huge concern. Like, I think it is just because the Dodgers can do it, because any other logical person or logical team, I don't think they would have given Kyle Tucker that money, which is why it was a no-brainer for Kyle Tucker to go there.
It's a no-brainer from Kyle Tucker's perspective. I think that a lot of fans were like, they don't need him, right? Like, this actually might be a guy they don't need. Like, there were people like Buster Olney, threw it out there into the ether a couple times during the offseason, like, watch out for the Dodgers on Tucker. But I think I had mentally chalked him up to being a Blue Jay. Like, I thought he was going to go sign a long-term, maybe 8-year deal with the Blue Jays, 10 years, somewhere around there. And that was just going to be the last we heard of him.
I don't want to toot my own horn here, but what did I say at the beginning of the offseason? I did predict him to the Dodgers.
You did.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you did. I just didn't think that we had heard there was absolutely no smoke. There was no Dodger smoke around Tucker until the day he signed. And, correct. I think it's because they finally one day were like, what if we just did it? And they did it. And they give him, hey, how's $60 million sound, Scott Boras? And it's not a pillow contract. I think it's a mattress contract because there are 2 years before the opt-out. But I just think that Kyle Tucker is going to make every single dollar of this contract because I don't think he's going to play up to a $60 million AAV, and he's going to opt in every single time. And who knows? He may walk away with 2 or 3 rings for it. Is Andy Pages, to pivot slightly, is Andy Pages the best 9-hitter in baseball?
No.
A
no
113
way.
WRC plus a 4-WAR player?
Oh, okay. Maybe. I didn't realize he was that good last year. So maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I was very surprised because a friend of mine said the same thing to me, and I was like, no way. He was like, look up his numbers, and I couldn't believe what I saw.
Kudos to your friend, because you just did the same thing with me. I was surprised that was where he's at. I'm not sure if that speaks more to Andy Pages or more than that the Dodgers lineup has pushed him to number 9, and that's where he's sitting because it's so damn good. But one last thing I'll say about Kyle Tucker, Parker, and this is something we've talked about here before that I still have a concern about, is there has been these kind of underpinning reports about Kyle Tucker's commitment, his fire and passion for the game. And we did see something, I actually sent it to you, that night, or I think maybe the day after that he signed this deal, there was an anonymous Cubs staffer that came out and said, like, hey, this guy checks his phone more than he's checking the scouting report. Like, there is an engagement concern there. And you and I talked about over text, like, if that is the case, and I'm Kyle Tucker, am I not trying to cash in for $60 million for 2 years? And if I fall out of love with this in 2 years, I can opt out and be on my merry way and to collect $120 million? Sounds pretty good to me if that's really how I'm feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives him the ability to do exactly that and to get what he wants out of the game and then get out on top. And then it also gives the Dodgers the ability to avoid an Anthony Rendon situation. So,
Oh my God. Yes, I didn't
I
think
mean,
about that. That's very true.
Rendon was just an absolute thorn in the Angels' side for years. If
Yeah.
Kyle Tucker decides to cut bait and leave, what it cost him, 120 million rather than 250, 300, 400.
True. Well, now, Parker, there's the other side of this, which I think has solicited the most debate, is how this impacts. It's timely because we're going into 2026 labor talks, and it's going to impact these labor talks. It's going to be, right on the bulletin board there for owners and players alike. The best way that I explain this, I was telling someone this today, actually. It's, how you just have that feeling in your gut sometimes. Like when I heard this news, I'm still trying to figure out how to explain how I feel about it, because I felt in my gut like, wow, this is just wrong. Like something about this is wrong. And I think 2026 is trying to have fans like you and I, the league, the owners, the players need to sit with this and look, kind of feel what's in your gut and think like, what is the issue and how do we fix it? Because one thing is undeniable. Something is not working.
Yeah, I think something in the system's broken, or at least being exploited. That's honestly probably a more accurate way of putting it. Every team could spend money. Every team, I don't think, could do what the Dodgers do. And I think this is actually the first time that I can say that, honestly. I don't think every team could have given Kyle Tucker $60 million. And I think that we're going to figure that out in the labor negotiation. And I don't think it's going to happen via salary cap. As much as we like to talk crap about these owners and about Rob Manfred, I think they're very smart people and that they're going to figure out a solution that doesn't need, like, the players are also very smart and very shrewd negotiators themselves. So I have a feeling there will be a way to figure out the labor negotiation where a salary cap is not necessarily introduced. I think the luxury tax system has been exactly what we thought it was going to be. It is a concrete wall to lower market teams, and it is a mere suggestion to large market teams. And I don't think it had the intended effect that they wanted. So I think maybe they revamp that system, much more likely than instituting a salary cap.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's things between that, the TV rights, like there's things on the margins to not necessarily take away an inherent advantage from a team like the Dodgers who want to spend, and they have every right to, but to give other teams a lift up. This isn't about handicapping the Dodgers. And I want to make that clear. Like we love the Dodgers. You and I talk about this all the time. We love the Dodgers. If we were Dodgers fans, we'd be all about this, as fans should be. You want your team to spend, you want your team to go after it every year. And the Dodgers truly do in every part of their operation. However, I do think it's a conversation about not telling the Dodgers, you're bad for the game, you can't do this, because I don't think that's the whole story. It is about giving other teams the ability to compete in an economy of the game that is increasingly difficult for them to do so. Like, I don't know that people really understand. Like, there is a direct relation to, and I'm about to make this so simplistic. This is so much more complicated than I'm going to make it. I understand that. If you are in a smaller market where you have a smaller fan base and fewer people are coming to your ballpark for whatever reason, you'd be surprised to know you're making less money. Okay. Money is a finite thing. All right. Like you said, not every team can give 60 million. All right. And these teams are not going to, they want to operate in the black, and they don't even want to operate close to being in the negative. I mean, they are conservative as conservative can be. That's how you run a business. And so what can you do to help teams be more competitive? There's the profit sharing that exists. There's a whole debate about the revenue sharing there. And if teams never win, they always get the revenue share. And maybe you're incentivizing them not to win. That's something that I think is up for discussion. But what are we doing to lift the competitive floor of the league and their smaller markets, not necessarily handicapping teams like the Dodgers and the Mets?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the straight answer, the flat answer. I don't know. Luckily, it is not my job to figure out. There are 30 very rich men and one very rich guy who's in charge of all of them that they have elected to represent them. That is going to figure this out with the players. It is probably going to come at the cost of some playing time, if not, hopefully not a whole season, because I don't think. Not here's the thing. I don't think the game is dead if we miss 2027. I would be devastated though. And a lot of fans would be exactly the same way. We almost missed a season for COVID, and that felt like torture every single day. And then the year after that, we had the last CBA negotiation, and missing spring training games felt like torture every single day. So I think the owners are keenly aware that in order to keep the lights on costs money, and every day you don't play games, you lose money. And every day they don't play a game, their franchises lose value. So I think that they're aware of that, and I worry what missing time would do to the game. I just don't know if we're going to miss as much as people think we are.
I really hope you're right. And here's why. And I don't mean to make this like a I don't mean to go in this direction, but it's just the facts of life. I'm going to make this very psychological, sociological here. So sorry for those of you who aren't not nerds like I am, but you have to keep in mind where we're at as a society also. Society and sport are connected and they play off of each other. To me, thinking about culturally what's happening in our society and in our culture, people across the country that I would say right now probably care less than ever about rich people arguing over money. I don't think it is the best. In fact, it may be the worst environment that it has ever been for these rich people to go at it and cost people the joy when they need it in their lives right now of watching their favorite sport. Like, I think not only would it be detrimental to the game when it's at its highest point we've seen in years, but the current climate probably is also at its worst for doing this right now. I just think it's a perfect storm that it's really not ideal. Really not ideal.
And I'll piggyback off what you said, but I'll also add in the fact that at least if I were saying the words that you were saying, I wouldn't just be talking about the player or the owners. I would be talking a bit about the players, because right now where the debate exists is not at the bottom where we're trying to figure out a new arbitration system to get younger guys paid earlier. This is not the debate that's being had. I'm sure the players unit has it on their docket. They're going to get laughed out the door if they bring it up. They know that. The big piece they're going to go in and negotiate is to try to defend the top 1% of even the richer players. So yes, I 100% agree. And I think that, you can talk about this as billionaires competing with millionaires, but at the end of the day, they're both illionaires, and it is such a first world problem to have. And we're not going to bat here for the little guy making league minimum for the 30 days a year that he's called up to the big leagues. Currently, the debate is at the very, very, very top, the most, fortunate of everybody in this situation. So, I think it's a very, very I guess very bad time for this to be happening. And I don't think the players have as much backing from everybody else as they think they do.
I could not agree more. And at the end of the day, the money I would pay truly to be a fly on a wall in these conversations, in these meetings, because to me, I think from both sides, we get this idea that the conversation is about these bigger things like maximizing revenue, maximizing the dollars in my pocket, which I understand that will always be part of the conversation, and that's okay. But I think most of this conversation needs to also involve responsible folks that are saying, hey, look at all the progress we've made for our game in the last 5 to 10 years. How do we grow the game? Because if you want to talk about money in your pocket, the number one thing to put money in your pocket is to grow this sport, to grow the game. And it should all come back to that. And sometimes I fear it doesn't always come back to that. And that pisses me off.
Yeah, they forget, I think, a lot of times that it's an entertainment industry. owners, fans, even, like I think that this all boils down to or it's a kid's game and we're getting paid to play a kid's game. And the reality of that gets lost when it gets turned into a business. And we all say it. We say it way more often that baseball is a business than we say baseball is a kid's game. We say it like you and I are guilty of it. So I think that may be a change in perception. Like I love the celebrations and bat flips that have come into the game recently. I love the fact that we're not letting pitchers just drill people for being excited anymore. I like the fact that we've made the bases bigger and encourage people to steal bases. I like making it a more entertaining product. And I think when you start putting numbers like $60 million on the deal per year for what is honestly boils down over the last 2 seasons to above average performance from Kyle Tucker, then you make it more about making money than making a good product or playing competitive baseball, because these guys are going to be worried about getting hurt. We see it. We literally see it on a given, in any given season. Shohei Ohtani got paid his $70 million deal. He had a 50-50 season in the year he couldn't pitch, and the second he could pitch, he stopped stealing bases at the clip that he was. And it's like, I understand trying to stay healthy, but at the end of the day, you are getting paid money to be an entertainer. And it sucks that sometimes you can look at the game and say, that is not the objective of the people who are playing or funding this game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what we're talking about here is in no sense simple, and it will continue to be complicated. And as we get through this year, we are going to hear more things from the MLBPA and from the MLB and Rob Manfred. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Let's just call it what it is. Man, Parker, I'm not looking forward to this. Like, I don't think people, how do I say this? This is going to sound like, again, maybe a first world problem for us, but like it causes me anxiety. That's so silly, but it causes me a pit of my stomach feeling. You and I love this game so much that when these things happen, it doesn't make me feel good. It just doesn't.
Nope, not at all. I hope we have baseball in 2027. You want to talk about something cooler?
Yeah, let's do that before this gets really depressing. Jesus, what am I doing here? Let's talk about something that's really fun, Parker. Let's talk about Hall of Fame 2026. The class of 2026 we already know includes MLB all-time home run leader at second base, Jeff Kent, that we found out about during the winter meetings. But now it includes not one, but 2 center fielders. Mind you, the first time ever that 2 center fielders have made into the Hall of Fame at the same time, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran. Parker, let me say something about this first, okay? This is, I think, the first Hall election where I look at who made into the Hall and I go, am I that old already? That now 2 guys that I loved as a kid watching play baseball are now in the Hall of Fame? Like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, and Andrew Jones was on his 9th year in the ballot. So it hasn't,
right.
It's not like it's not like this guy was instant first ballot Hall of Famer, and it was like, this guy that we grew up watching, snuck in really early. No, Andrew Jones has been on the ballot for 9 years. Let me just say that in itself is an absolute tragedy. This guy is maybe the best defensive center fielder to ever live. Andrew Jones is maybe the best overall all-around center fielder to ever live. Not like, factoring in offense as well as defense. Carlos Beltran, I am glad he got in. I'm aware of his role in the whole Houston Astros cheating scandal. Right. I don't want to get into my opinions on all that, but Carlos Beltran, super excited to see him get in. Manny Ramirez didn't make it in. 10th year on the ballot, did not make it in. And I find that incredibly interesting. But there were a couple things that stuck out to me. I'll let you go now, but before we get off this topic, there were a couple voting results that I thought were super, super interesting.
Yeah. Wow. Where do we start? Well, let's start with Jones and Beltran here. I think it would surprise people to hear that the Hall of Fame hasn't been very kind to center fielders. And the fact that 2 got in on one ballot is quite impressive. And when you look at how these 2 stack up together, also pretty cool, because first off, home runs, Jones hit 434 in his career. Beltran hit 435. That's pretty uncanny. Yeah. But let's start with Jones, because Jones, not only did he hit over 4 home runs, but Jones acquired 10 Gold Gloves. He is arguably the best defensive center fielder in baseball history. And who, Parker, has hit more than 400 home runs and had at least 10 gold gloves? Quite an exclusive list. Billy Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., Mike Schmidt, Andrew Jones. That is a wild list.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I cannot believe it took 9 ballots to get Andrew Jones in the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
I just
crazy.
I can't. Every single one of those other guys that you just listed on that list is a early ballot Hall of Famer. They are soaking up. They are costing dudes in their last couple years of balloting a chance at the Hall of Fame because they're soaking up so many votes, those kind of guys. So to see that it took 9 years to get him, you know what? I'm going to stop complaining about that. I'm happy he made it in. Andrew Jones is finally a Hall of Famer. And Carlos Beltran, talk about a guy that was like one of the studs, like truly. Andrew Jones is an older guy, and I did watch him a little bit, and I remember playing him in baseball video games when I was younger. Carlos Beltran, like I remember active fandom while he was a player. Like I remember him playing for the Mets and being just this guy that everybody was talking about and how good he was and playing center field and hitting bombs. Like Carlos Beltran is one of those guys that was genuinely a star when I was an active participant in baseball culture as a viewing member. And to see him get in after all the controversy and stuff like that is really cool. And it wasn't like it was close on him either. Like he made it in with 84% of the vote. That's pretty decisive, and I'm glad to see that happen for him.
Absolutely. I think Beltran's one of those guys when you think of historic postseason performers, he's certainly one of them. He has a line of 307, 412, 609 in the postseason, 2 Silver Sluggers in his career, and also 3 Gold Gloves to show for it himself. So no slouch in the outfield during his prime. It's interesting. I don't want to go too deep into this rabbit hole, but I think it's a fair question to ask because it has been asked since this Hall announcement. We do know the background of Carlos Beltran and the 2017 Astros, and I think we will spend time on another show maybe talking about it. But for now, just a simple question. How do you reconcile, and maybe this isn't like you personally, but just generally, how do you reconcile people that maybe voted for a Carlos Beltran but have not voted for a Bonds or a Clemens?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see how one
because
form
those
of
people
cheating
exist in a large number.
Yeah, I don't see how one form of cheating is any better or worse than any other. To be completely honest, if that's the hill you want to die on, go ahead and die on the steroid hill. But there are steroid users in the Hall of Fame. That's just simply is what it is. And to draw the line at such arbitrary, places in baseball's history is so strange to me. Now, like Carlos Beltran making it in, and then Manny Ramirez falling off the ballot in his 10th and final season, is so strange. I don't know. It's just weird, man. I'm so
not
done
saying
having that conversation.
I know, but I had to pose it because to me,
Oh, for sure.
To me, I don't like the hypocrisy of it. Hypocrisy, I hate in all of its forms, and I can tell you this is just my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but to me, if you voted for Beltran and if you didn't vote for Bonds and Clemens, there's nothing you can say to rationalize that to me. Like you maybe you shouldn't be voting because you're not being consistent, and for you to be all high and mighty to not vote for Bonds and Clemens and then vote for Beltran, who the hell are you? Like at this point, that's how I feel about it. I don't mean to be a jerk, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I couldn't say it any better. I will say there's a few things on here that I did want to point out. Number one, Alex Rodriguez did get 40% of the vote in his 5th time on the ballot. I want to say that's an increase from last year. If I remember correctly. So he is trending in the direction of maybe making it. He does have 5 more years of eligibility, so that's good for him. Jimmy Rollins got an inexplicable 25% of the vote. I still can't believe this guy is on the Hall of Fame ballot. I think Jimmy Rollins is one of the more overrated players in baseball history, if I'm being honest.
I would agree.
I also think that it's awesome but surprising that Dustin Pedroia nearly doubled his vote count from last year up to 20% in his 2nd year. If he trends like that, he will be a Hall of Famer by the time he's like on the 7th or 8th ballot. So good for him. But it just as surprising to me as Jimmy Rollins. I think Dustin Pedroia is maybe the best Hall of Very Gooder, but not a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I love him. I would be so happy to see him go into the Hall of Fame. It would just be surprising. And then, David Wright got a good amount of votes, at least enough to stay on the ballot, 14%. But then the one thing that sticks out to me, the only guy besides Manny Ramirez to fall off the ballot this year was Torrey Hunter, who received 37 total votes. That's only 8.7% in his 6th year on the ballot. Wait, it's 5% now. I
It's
lost my mind.
5%. Yeah.
Oh, there's a bunch of guys that fell off. I needed to scroll farther. So Torrey Hunter barely squeaked by and stayed on the ballot, but a bunch of guys fell off. Ryan Braun, doesn't make any sense to me how you only get 15 votes. I'm not going to lie. I think Ryan Braun got a little dogged here. Edwin Encarnacion, 6 total votes. And I'll just speed run the rest of these. Shin-Soo Choo, Matt Kemp, Hunter Pence, Rick Porcello, Alex Gordon, Nick Markakis, Gio Gonzalez, Howie Kendrick, and Daniel Murphy. I think I agree with all of those. I think none of those guys really stand out as Hall of Famers to me. Great careers, Hall of very good guys, but maybe not Hall of Famers.
Last thing I will say about this, my little personal note on this. I will stump for Mark Buehrle all day long. That guy is a Hall of Famer, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
I have to agree with you. I think Mark Buehrle's a Hall of Famer. I think he's a 9th ballot Hall of Famer. Is that fair?
I don't care. Yeah, absolutely. I don't care where you put him in what year, but if he's not in the Hall of Fame by the 10th year, we're having a conversation.
Yeah, dude. So crazy stuff about Mark Buehrle, 13% K percentage. Pretty darn good.
Man, God, could you imagine? Here's the crazy thing about that stat. I'm glad you pulled that up. If his K percentage at 13% was just up to 20%, we're having a different conversation,
entirely.
Right? I mean,
he's already in. He's already in.
A first or second year Hall of Famer. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see, a career 3.81 ERA. I love Fangraph so much. I need to see his wins. It's on the second table. 214 wins. So here's my thing. And I know Curt Schilling has a bunch of stuff going against him, but if Curt Schilling's not a Hall of Famer, I do start to take a little pause with Mark Buehrle because Curt Schilling cleared the 250 win mark. And wins only matter in Hall of Fame voting. You'll hear me dog pitcher wins every single day of the week.
Sure.
But I mean, to your point, though, Mark Buehrle definitely has a case if Felix Hernandez has a case. And Felix Hernandez absolutely has a case. I think he should have already been elected to the Hall of Fame. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, wow. I mean, this is where the Hall of Fame just gets fun, Parker, because now we're talking about guys that you and I just followed throughout our growing up with baseball, and it's just getting a lot more fun for us.
Yeah. I mean, I remember turning on, like, if it was a day game, one of those, like, a day, and I'm looking for a game to throw on, and my team doesn't play until 7 Eastern time. Who's playing? Oh, the White Sox. Ooh, Burley's pitching. That's the game I'm probably turning on. And that, to me, is the mark of a guy that, like, matters in the history of baseball.
Good point. Very, very well said. 2 more things tonight. We are going to, Parker, I think today we're going to start something we were going to do every week. We're going to play some Immaculate Grid because here at Late Night Baseball, the vibes are immaculate. So we're going to go ahead and do Immaculate Grid each and every week. But before we do that, I would be remiss if we didn't go back to the Mets for a minute here, because Parker, how many times have I joked around on this show? I am trying to sell Luis Robert like I am on the street corner selling fruit and veggies. Okay, like I have been trying so hard, and finally the Mets have traded with the White Sox to acquire Luis Robert Jr. and the White Sox acquired a pitcher, but more importantly, they acquired top prospect or former top prospect Luis Angel Acuna, who is Robert Acuna's younger brother. I am thrilled that they got anything of value for Luis Robert and his $20 million a year contract. For someone of the caliber of Luis Angel Acuna is fantastic.
Luis Angel Acuna feels like a guy who's already a big leaguer, but still feels like a lottery ticket. You know, like he could end up being, his ceiling is certainly around a Luis Robert, I think. And then good to see you guys get another pitching prospect. Those are always good. Those are worth their weight in gold sometimes. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited you guys are able to turn that page. I'm excited to see Luis Robert get inserted into a lineup that's truly competing. No offense, but you know, he's not getting any younger.
No.
And so yeah, I think that this is a textbook move for both clubs. I think that the White Sox are able to move a guy who's moving into the later stage of his career into a team that's really going to be competitive while also getting more and more and more prospect capital. And we've seen what Chris Getz can do with that. And I'm excited to see what he does.
And one of the things that I think everyone should be watching out for is that, you know, Chris Getz talked about this deal today with the media, and he said something that he was refreshingly candid, that not many GMs are candid like this. And he was asked point blank, like, hey, you got $20 million off the books. Is that money that's going to be spent? And he came out and just point blank said, yeah, it's going to be spent. And GMs don't do that. Like, president of baseball ops are always blunt like that when it comes to their budgets and what they have available. And it has been very clear that Getz is going to spend that money in free agency. And I know some of you are like, dude, this guy's talking about free agency for like C-tier free agents. I'm excited about it because the White Sox have that magic something in their organization. They are really good at bringing guys in and tweaking a swing, tweaking an approach, bringing guys in, putting them in a pitching lab. And this is how you build a winner, right? Like Chris Getz has this philosophy of give me a guy that with the current tools can give me 2 WAR. And let's tinker with him to get him to 2.5 or 3. And we all know if you have a team of 2 to 3 WAR players up and down your lineup, that is a very good baseball team. And I like the approach that he's taking.
I like it. Real quick, I don't know how to shoehorn this into the episode, but I noticed this and I need to insert it somewhere. I'm going to start you off with a number. I'm going to give you a number, and that is the number of homegrown players on the Toronto Blue Jays 40-man roster. Homegrown players. And if you go look at roster resource, don't go look at roster resource because you're going to ruin it for yourself. But if you look at the Blue Jays roster resource, it gives you the 40-man roster breakdown, how many are homegrown, how many are free agents, how many are trades, waivers, Rule 5s, and then, obviously there's 40-man total, which is 40 players. If you look at the Blue Jays homegrown players, how many homegrown players do you think they have? I'll give you the answer to this one in a second.
Of the 26 or the 40, man?
The 40. How many of their 40 are homegrown?
I'm going to say 15.
Would you be surprised for me to tell you it's 9? Interesting. Lower than you thought, right?
Well, and so I guess lower than I thought, but now that you put it out there, I'm not sure that I'm surprised because let's remember the Blue Jays of the last 5 to 7 years, Parker, they have not really been good at developing players. Like, let's just call it what it is. So this is not maybe as surprising as I thought.
Okay. 2 more teams we're going to go through. The Chicago White Sox, how many homegrown players are on their 40-man?
I should know this.
No, this is hard. This is a tough question. It's an odd question.
Shoot. Okay, so here's the thing with the White Sox is it is going to be less, I think, because they've acquired a lot of these guys in trade, so they're not technically homegrown. Which
exactly the same as the Blue Jays. It is 9 players.
That's interesting. Now here, so that's fascinating. Now it goes back to my other comment. I think it's low for different reasons, right? Like that. I think that's what the funny part of this is. That is such a good pull. That's a
now
really...
hold on. I have one more team.
Oh my god!
How many homegrown players are on the Los Angeles Dodgers 40-man roster?
Oh my god! If it's 9, I'm gonna be really pissed.
It's not 9.
Is it not? It's not 9. Okay. Is it? I'm not even gonna give you a number. I'm gonna say it is somewhere between 15 and 20.
It's 15. The Dodgers, the go and buy talent and go buy any player you want. We're going to spend $1 trillion on contracts. They can't develop. What are they doing? Have 15 homegrown players on the 40.
But that is the thing, Parker. You and I talked about this before. That is the one organization that does both things well. Player development, player acquisition. That is evidence that this team knows how to run their player development program so that, let me just say it this way. Teams don't have a luxury. Some teams, like my White Sox, at least for now, have to rely on player development. This is what makes the Dodgers so unique because they rely on player development, but can also go out and get all these other players. They will forever be a powerhouse for this reason. That's amazing. That's an amazing pull. Wow.
All right, you want to play some Immaculate Grid?
Oh, let's do it. Let's end the show with some Immaculate Grid.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite games to play. I absolutely love Immaculate Grid. If you don't know what happened, you'll figure it out as we go. But you and I are going to do it together. Okay, so we need a guy that played for both the Dodgers and the Brewers. And what you do is you actually go like this column has to have somebody that played for the Brewers, and then it has to match the left side column. So we need a guy who played for both the Dodgers and the Brewers.
And the goal of this, folks, if you haven't done this before, is has the more obscure, the better. The least games they played for these teams, the better.
Yeah, so there's two rules. You got to get all 9 squares, and you only get 9 guesses to get all 9 squares, and then also you get a rarity score at the end, and the least, like the lower the rarity score, the better.
Oh man, I love this. Okay, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to switch off so we're not debating each and every
we
one?
can't take Shohei here. Like, Shohei played for both teams, obviously, but like that's the rarity on that's going to be terrible.
Like what we want to do for, like, let's stay on A's and LA for a second. Like, I'll give you one because it's a guy I followed a lot. I'm thinking of someone like Dan Herron.
For which team?
A's and LA. A's and Dodgers.
This is Braves.
No. Angels and Dodgers.
Angels and Dodgers. So you want to do Dan?
Give me
Dan
a Dan Herron. Yes. He ended his career, I
Herron.
believe, in LA. Or in
That's a good one. There you
nice.
go. Okay.
Nice.
All right. I was thinking Sean Figgins on that one. Yeah, I know. This is my turn. This is going to be tough. I'm actually so much worse at this, I feel like, than I used to be like 3 years ago.
Well, life happens.
Okay, so we got Brewers, Braves. I don't know anything here. Brewers, Braves, Brewers, Rays, Brewers, Dodgers. I stink at this these days. Let's see. Where did Matt Kemp play? He went from not the Brewers, the Padres.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was definitely Dodgers or Braves, Dodgers, Padres.
Yeah. I feel like Braves, Tigers is an interesting one. See, the relief pitchers would get you every time if you could just remember their names, but they don't. You know,
that's the thing with the relief pitchers is, like, through my following of the sport, like, there's relief pitchers that for some reason, like, I always remember, but there's only like 10 or 15 of them that I follow.
Yeah.
The rest are just garbage. No, that was me. Not that they're garbage, but I don't pay attention to them, obviously. Oh, I got one because he just popped up in my mind talking about relievers. Go to Braves, Tigers.
Braves, Tigers.
And I'm going to throw you one that you'll appreciate. Give me a Kyle Farnsworth.
Oh, man. Okay. Did you see the Kyle Farnsworth thing on, like, most searched players in the country?
With how, like, swole he is right now?
No. Okay, so Baseball Reference posts every single year their, like, Spotify Wrapped version for Baseball Reference, which is just the most searched player that isn't Shohei Ohtani in each state.
Yeah.
And they do batters and they do pitchers, and the most searched pitcher in Iowa is Kyle Farnsworth, and everybody else makes total sense. It's like 99% Clayton Kershaw, most of the states, and then there's like Justin Verlander in Virginia because he's from Virginia, Garrett Cole in New York and stuff like that, and then Kyle Farnsworth in Iowa. And there's a guy, and everybody's like, why is Kyle Farnsworth? He hasn't played in the league in like 12 years. Kyle Farnsworth gets the searches in Iowa because there's an older gentleman whose son posted on Twitter that he does Immaculate Grid every single day. And he, quote unquote, cheats. He uses like Baseball Reference and stuff like that to help him. And his bookmarked page for Baseball Reference is Kyle Farnsworth's Baseball Reference page.
So it's by accident.
By like page views, this one gentleman is putting like 30 page views on Kyle Farnsworth's page every day, trying to find.
All right. That's it. Parker and I are doing that. Starting now for the rest of 2026, we're going to open up some rando page in Baseball Reference. Skew the numbers. Here we go.
Yep. All right. Sounds good to me.
I love that.
We got to do this. I'm all right. Rarity score be damned. Dodgers, Tigers. Who played for the Dodgers and the Tigers?
I'm really good with. I'm really good with like starting pitchers. That's my strong suit. And so I'm thinking of someone who later in his career. No, was it earlier or later?
How is Rich Hill? None of these.
He may be. Hold on.
No, he never played for the Tigers, I don't think.
Tigers and LA Dodgers. Let's do Brad Penny. Wait,
Brad Penny is a good one. Yeah, Brad Penny is a good one. Okay, Brad Penny.
That's a good one.
There you go. That's a good little rarity score there. Okay.
Nice.
Rays Tigers. Where did let's oh man.
You know what's fun? You know what I do? Here's my strategy with this little sneak peek. Here's what I do with this. What I tend to do is also I think about like the obscure players that I loved, like where did they end their careers? Because like these players end their careers like
Yeah.
the last 3 years of their career, they have 3 different teams on their resume, because they're like in
Right.
their mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
Which makes me think of for Tampa Bay, Detroit. Give me a Johnny Damon.
Oh my God. Oh my God. What a poll. That's a good one, man. Yeah.
That's why
okay,
I
Johnny
always go to
Damon.
the older guys. Give me the late career things. That's what I want.
Wow, I forgot that man spent any time in Detroit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think it was.
We just got the entire Detroit. It's because it's the AL East or AL Central, I think, that you were able to get so many Detroit players.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Okay, Angels, Braves. I mean, obviously they exist, but who are they?
I think I have one only because this guy is a recent White Sox. Nicky Lopez played like a handful of games for the Angels last year in 25. Nicky Lopez.
Lopez is easier to spell.
Yeah, but you're gonna have a million Lopez's. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Okay,
wow, that's a good one. I haven't gotten a single one of these. I'm terrible. Okay. I'm like Brewers. Sal Frelick. What are we doing?
Brewers is hard. Brewers,
Braves. Wait a minute. Brewers, Braves.
Yeah.
No.
Brewers, Braves. I feel like starting pitchers would be easier for this one. Ricky Weeks. Where did he go? I don't know. I don't think he went to the Braves.
I feel like he did. Am I crazy? I'm typing him into Savant like he's on Savant. He played an eternity ago.
Maybe one pitcher that I was like I really liked when he started his career with the Braves. And he just like had so much potential and then like totally fell off and ended up on the Brewers and never got his stuff back. Do you remember Julio Teheran?
Oh my God. So Brewers where?
Brewers, Braves, I think. I'm willing to take a risk on that. I think he had like maybe like a season or two with
Oh my God, you're right. Wow.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay. All right. Tim Salmon spent his entire year with the Angels, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And then we've got Troy Gloss could have gone here, I think, right? Didn't he spend a year or two at the Dodgers?
I think he did. End of his career. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Which one next? A's, Tampa Bay.
Where? I got an idea on this. Get Fangraphs to pull up. Where did Pat Burrell?
Oh, Pat Burrell. That I think maybe that would be one.
Am I gonna get this wrong? You know what? I gotta send it. Right? Didn't he play in both the Angels and the Rays?
Yeah. Pat Burrell. I think I would also do.
No.
Yeah, I would think. Damn it! You know who did?
Who?
Another Johnny Damon type one. Hideki Matsui.
You're right. Wow. I forgot he ever played for the Rays. Got me on that one. Okay.
Let's see.
Brewers, Rays. Is there one that pops out for that?
Brewers, Rays. When I think of like players that played for Brewers and Rays, I think of like players that were like utility backup guys, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what cycles through those teams.
Right.
Give me Stephen Vogt, current A's manager.
Wait, dude.
Give me a Stephen Vogt right now.
Bodie? Oh my God. Dang. Okay, we can do the last one. We could do the last one.
All right, for shits and gigs. Okay.
Dodgers, Brewers.
I feel like could we talk about the Dodger thing for a second? I feel like the Dodgers are what every player plays for in their like last 1 or 2 seasons. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everyone has cycled.
Definitely be the case. That absolutely used to be the case.
Like the late aughts, early 2010s Dodgers team.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to think of like pitchers. Like,
let's do. I'm pretty confident about what I'm about to say, other than the Dodger connection's a little fuzzy. I'm trying to picture Craig Counsell in a Dodger jersey, but I think he played a couple seasons in LA.
Oh my God. You're right.
Boom,
You're right.
baby.
What a good one.
Boom. That was
I love that
fun.
there's an
I'm glad we're
asterisk next to
doing
the
this.
extra guest. I like this too.
This was great.
Wow, you're gonna
Good
clean
stuff.
house on these. You know what's funny is, like I said, I feel like I was so much better at them a while ago, like 3-4 years ago, and as I've gotten older, I just lose the touch, man. Kyle Farnsworth was such a good pull. I can't believe that.
What helps me well in this game is I have like an eidetic memory, so like I attach players to like jerseys and numbers, and that's where this fares well for me. Stats, whole different thing. This, sure. All right, Parker, we are at an hour 10. We had a lot of good baseball talk this week, but let's go into the last word. What do you got for the last word this week?
Well, my last word was going to be that whole how many homegrown players thing. So my last word instead is going to be go Broncos. It's Stiddy City. We're all citizens of Stiddy City, and we're all on the Stiddy Council, which has been renamed to the Itty Bitty Stiddy Committee.
Oh my God.
And we're here. And we're ready to party.
I love that.
Watch out. Just watch.
I love that. That's great. My last word will be, we didn't really talk about him like at all. And shame on me for us not spending time talking about this guy. But I can't tell you how excited I am that I'm going to be going to opening day and I get to see Munetaka Murakami.
Oh my God. I'm so excited to see him.
We could see 30 home runs from this guy if all goes well. Like
we could see 50 home runs from this guy.
I mean, right? Like if everything goes right, let's slow down here. But I mean, right? Like I am so excited to see just a home run hitter, a basher, a bomber at the rate. I'm pumped.
Yep, super excited. One more thing. WBC, the Japanese Netflix WBC trailer dropped. If you haven't seen that on socials, go look it up. It's absolutely electrifying. Super excited for that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll be on that, and we'll be on WBC as we get closer to March. And of course, we'll be talking about here on Late Night Baseball. So make sure you're following us on YouTube, on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're here every week, deep into the night, talking baseball. Let us be your home for Late Night Baseball. Take care, everybody.